Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of To The Point podcast. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. Just some big things happening over the weekend. Obviously, the NFL taking full circle, taking the center stage with the two conference championship games, a big, massive UFC pay-per-view, some NHL, NBA action. The Blue Jays late last week making the signing of George Springer, the Patrik Laine, Pierre-Luc Dubois trade. So a lot happening in the world of sports just in a 3 day span from Thursday with Dubois getting benched, then ultimately getting traded early Saturday morning around 11:30 Atlantic time. So we're gonna talk about it all today. We're gonna start off with the NFL with the two big games yesterday. Start to preview Super Bowl in 2 weeks live from Tampa Bay. Also going to, like I said, talk about the UFC over the weekend. Conor McGregor taking a big loss to Dustin Poirier, getting knocked out in the second round. What the future holds for him. The NHL with some different storylines. The Boston Bruins are starting to score some goals finally. Montreal continues to roll. Toronto's off to a hot start. The Dallas Stars got their season started. Talk about some COVID issues around North America when it comes to sports. But yeah, a big show today. After the weekend, there's always a lot going on. So started off talking about football. And I came into the weekend and I picked the Bucks and I picked the Bills. And ultimately I went 1-1. And I felt the most comfortable in all my picks. Really, this postseason, there were some games I really wasn't that confident with my pick. Like I mentioned on the podcast, I picked Buffalo, but I felt Baltimore might win, but Buffalo pulled it out. And then I didn't know about, I felt good about every pick that I've made with the Bucks. I felt really confident that they were going to win. I think they've been the best team in the NFC since about week 13. And funny enough, that was right when they lost to Kansas City. They had a big second half comeback. They ended up losing 28-25. And since then, they've really looked like a new team. And yesterday, it started off like it has for a while with Tampa Bay. They get the ball to start the game, and Tom Brady started airing it out. Big play to Mike Evans on a second down play for 27 yards, really spreading the defense out. 2 plays later, he finds Mike Evans again, end zone. He has 2 catches, 42 yards on the drive. And this was really a story. They're picking on Sullivan early. They picked on Kevin King, the corner. In this game, King was a corner on 2 different touchdown grabs, but one by Mike Evans and one by Brady later in the game where he was covering them. But Brady was not afraid to throw early, 3 for 5, 56 yards, and that really started a dominant day, for a dominant half for Tom Brady. And last week you could say that Tampa won because of their defense. They created turnovers, but Brady ultimately capitalized on those turnovers. He's the best at doing that in maybe the history of the NFL, taking advantage of opportunities. And the pass rush for Tampa Bay did not fail yesterday. They registered 5 sacks, 2 from Shaq Barrett, a sack and a half from Jason Pierre-Paul. And, clearly Green Bay was missing their star left tackle, David Bakhtiari. He tore his ACL in week 16 in practice. And he'd normally be covering Shaq Barrett, but you saw they had to move Elton Jenkins out to the left side. He was struggling most of the day. Aaron Rodgers didn't have a lot of time the whole game. And there was times he would get the ball and he had guys in his face and he had to take a sack. He got sacked 5 times yesterday. And it was another really good performance from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense. But, it was a day for Aaron Rodgers. I think he's going to look back on and really regret his play. I don't think he played terrible, but he definitely could have played better. In the first half, I thought he played fairly well. After the Green Bay got a stop on Tampa's next drive after Kenny Clark sacked Tom Brady. They're backed up all the way inside their own 5. He throws a gun to Allen Lazard. On this drive, he finds Robert Tonyan twice. He goes to Devontae Adams once, and he goes to a big play to Marquez Valdes-Scantling for 52 yards and a score. Big play, ties the game at 7, and it felt like, okay, well, Green Bay's right back in this game. Tampa didn't let them sit there and enjoy it. 3rd and 9, it looked like the Green Bay might get the Bucs off the field again, but Brady throws up a 52-yard bomb to Chris Godwin. He's right down the middle. He's in tight coverage. He battles through it, makes the catch. He's had a tough postseason, really end of the season with drops, and that was another theme for the Bucs yesterday. Leonard Fournette had 2 drops. Godwin had 1. Mike Evans had 2. Tyler Johnson had 1. So, Brady was a little frustrated, but he goes up, makes this play. Big play for him. It's his 3rd catch of the game. He's got 80 yards already. This is about midway through the second quarter. And right after the 52-yard play, Leonard Fournette gets the ball. He runs to the right, 20-yard touchdown. It's 14-7 Tampa Bay. And, Tampa really, one of the big keys to them winning this game is 3rd down. They were 6 for 7 at this point. They finished the game 7 for 10. They were efficient. 70% on 3rd down is fantastic. That just can't happen if you're a defense. You can't allow an offense to stay on the field that long to keep progressing drives because it's going to end up in points. And Tampa Bay was not settling for field goals often in this game. Green Bay did respond with a good drive. You saw Aaron Jones get involved. He did fumble on the possession. Robert Tonyan jumped on top of the ball. I'll get back into that later. But short passing game, long drive. They get down to the Tampa Bay 5. They have 3 cracks from inside the 5, and they don't score. First one, Aaron Rodgers throws. He's got Davante Adams wide open. He throws behind him. You could say Davante Adams should have made the catch, but to me, it was a poor throw. The next play, Aaron Rodgers rolls out to the right. He gets the ball swatted down. No play. Next, 3rd down, he finds Davante Adams. He catches the ball back to the end zone. He can only get 1 foot in bounds. So they settle for a field goal. And, I think this was a key point to later in the game where we see Matt LaFleur have no courage and no faith in his quarterback and his offense to score a touchdown. And, Green Bay had the best red zone offense in the regular season. But yesterday, they weren't good. Aaron Rodgers wasn't good. The whole team. To me, Aaron Rodgers gets too fixated on Davante Adams, and he has to throw him the ball because he got 18 touchdowns this year. Look for different options. Who cares who catches it? It's about winning the game. And all these 3 plays, he targeted Davante Adams all 3 times. So that's why I'm saying that. Look for Allen Lazard. Look for Tonyan, who he did find in a drive later on in the game. But the Bucs know you like going to Davante Adams in the red zone. They clearly had a pregame scout on what you want to do down there, and they took it away. So it's not there. You got to look for somebody else. And I just don't feel like he had an option that he was that comfortable with. So at this point, Green Bay field goal, like I said. Tampa Bay goes on another drive, but they do get stopped with 2:17 to go, and at midfield, the Green Bay gets a stop, so Aaron Rodgers gets the ball back. They're driving, but with 28 seconds, Sean Murphy bunting steps in front of Allen Lazard, gets an interception at about midfield, and it just can't happen. You can't throw a pick this late in the game. The Bucs still had 2 timeouts, and they used them to their advantage. We saw them gamble on a 4th and 3. Tom Brady threw it to Leonard Fournette. He got about 5 yards, first down. And with 8 seconds, they decided to throw the ball. And that was plenty of time. But they got little Scotty Miller out to the left. And again, they got 1 corner on him. I don't know how you don't double him. We've seen Tom Brady go to Scotty Miller a lot deep this year, and it's worked. Well, he just ran by him, and he cuts to the middle. Nobody's there, no safety help. Scotty Miller makes the catch. Touchdown with 1 second left in the half. And this was a backbreaker. 21-10. Beautiful throw from Brady. He was having a half to remember. He was looking like vintage Tom Brady, like he was 24 years old, where he was just dicing up teams, and it was tough. It was tough for Green Bay. I think it really gave them a gut punch, and they did ultimately have it did have her help them in the second half, but it was tough. So yeah, that was Kevin King again, who gets burned on the play. He was a dud for the game. I mean, you could point the finger at him a ton. And also Mike Patton, the defensive coordinator, for not having people out there to cover. Use your fucking head, or tell your corner, maybe foul him. Because guess what? It goes 15 yards. It's pass interference, spot of the foul. Even if it's spot of the foul, the ball is on the 10 with no time on the clock. You got one play, you're kicking a field goal, and they're getting points. They're not getting a touchdown. 17-10, you get the ball to start the second half. It's a touchdown game. It's a big difference. You're stuck 11. It's a different feeling. And then, of course, to start the second half, Aaron Jones fumbles the ball for the second time, but this time he's not as lucky. Jordan Whitehead forced fumble to get the ball. Tampa recovers, and right in Green Bay territory, inside the 20. Tom Brady throws it. Cameron Brate, 10-yard touchdown, 28-10. It was just a nightmare. Just a nightmare of events here for Green Bay. But, to their credit, they didn't give up. Green Bay got the ball the next time. They went on a really impressive drive. He found Robert Tonyan, like I mentioned earlier. He found him in the end zone. A.J. Dillon entered the game. They said Aaron Jones left with an injury. I don't really buy that. I think he left the game because of a coach's decision, because he fumbled twice. A.J. Dillon out of Boston College came in the game. He's a 250-pound, just a big back, and he started running over people, getting good chunk yardage. They're using Valdez-Scantling a lot. He was really the feature receiver yesterday because Devontae Adams couldn't get open. So Green Bay, like I said, he finds Robert Tonyan, 11-yard touchdown, and it's 28-17. Next play, next series, Brady gets picked off by Adrian Amos. He kind of throws one up into double coverage. Amos reads it well, comes down with the ball. That was the first of 3 Tom Brady interceptions in the second half. Green Bay really started to blitz. They started to get some pressure, and Brady was a little bit careless in the half, obviously. So they go 13 plays, 68-yard drive. Like I said, A.J. Dillon gets in the game. They do end up finding Devontae Adams, 4-yard touchdown. So 28-23. So, of course, they're going to go for 2. You cut the game to a field goal. It's a one-possession game. You're right in it. So Rodgers scrambles. I didn't think he had an option open, but he throws it back in the end zone for St. Brown, and he drops. I mean, it was in the breadbasket. I mean, he must have eaten a bucket of chicken, because his hands would have been that greasy to drop this one. It was right there for him. He drops it. It's, it was another heartbreaker. It was one of those moments where Green Bay's saying, what the hell just happened? He drops 2-point convert, 28-23. But Tampa wanted to let Green Bay hang in this game. Tampa should have went away with this game, but they didn't. On the drive, Mike Evans drops an easy catch. And then the next throw, you could say Tom Brady overthrew it. I think you really need your receiver to make a play on it. I don't agree with Tony Romo that it was a bad throw from Brady. It was right off the fingertips of Evans, pops in the hands of Jair Alexander, and Green Bay gets the ball. But this is the key. You're down 5, so you get a touchdown, you get the lead. They get 2 picks in the end of the third, fourth quarter, both by Jair Alexander. And it results in 2 3-and-outs. They lost yardage on one of the 2 drives. 3 plays, 6 plays in total off 2 turnovers, 0 points. The Bucs had 1 turnover, they got 7. Green Bay had 3 turnovers, 7 points. That's why you lose the game. Poor coaching too at the end of the game, no doubt. But, which I'll get to. But you need to score off these. Aaron Rodgers, do something. You're the MVP of the league. You weren't yesterday. 2 3-and-out. That's just unacceptable. Off those turnovers and you get nothing out of it. It's tough. They get that 3-and-out. Then Darnell Savage, beautiful blitz on Brady. He's one up. Mike Evans doesn't know where the ball's going. Alexander steps it again. 3-and-out. No points. And it's a nightmare. So Tampa gets the ball back. And, They go down the field. Tampa does get a stop, and 46-yard field goal. Ryan Suckup, nice kick, and it's through. So there's 31-23 Tampa Bay. They're up 8 with 4:42 to go. Green Bay drives. Nice drive. They're still using run pass. They're using some tight end screens. They're using what they can do. They get all the way down to Tampa Bay 8. And Tampa, again, their defense has been great, and they get to 4th down. It's 2 minutes and 8 seconds to go. Green Bay and Tampa both have 3 timeouts left. But like I said, the Green Bay defense has been getting stops, but they're getting turnovers. They haven't gotten stopped. Like, they haven't stopped. To this point, Tom Brady's 8 for 10 on 3rd down. So they're not getting stops. They're getting turnovers on first down. So grain of salt. 2 minutes, 8 seconds. It's a 4th and goal from the 8. And that's not an easy play. But you got the MVP, Aaron Rodgers. You might want to try going for it. I know. Your season's on the line. I mean, it's not like there's a game tomorrow. You're fucking done, right? You're done. You're going home. And Matt LaFleur decides to kick a field goal. Yeah. Decides to kick 2 minutes and 8 seconds. Kicks a field goal. 21-yard, just a little chip shot field goal. And he gives the ball back to Tom Brady. Well, I don't know. You don't watch football that often. You've probably heard the name Tom Brady, and you probably heard he's won a few Super Bowls. Kind of like here at Michael Jordan. He's won something in his life. He's not some schmuck who just made a 3 once and then he never played a game again. He's not Alexander Day. Well, Tom Brady might just be the clutchest quarterback ever. I'm sure he won't pick up a 1st down. He has 3 plays. I'm sure he won't do it with 2 minutes left. I mean, it's not like he's done it 100 times. So Matt LaFleur decides to kick a field goal. And of course, the Bucs get a 1st down. And, people that hate Tom Brady, my mother, will complain about the flag at the end of the game that it was late. But it was pass interference. Tyler Johnson was held by Adrian Amos. It was a flag. I don't care if it's late. It was the right call. No review, none of that bullshit. It was the right play. They had to review it, which I don't even understand, but that's football. That's covering better. I get it was a late flag, but it was the right call. So complaining about when the flag came and then saying it was a flag, that doesn't make any sense to me. So you're saying it was a penalty, but because the flag was late, it's not a penalty? Well, if a guy comes across the middle and you check him to the head and the ref puts his arm about 4 seconds later, still a check to the head, still a dirty check, still a penalty. But this bottles down to Matt LaFleur. You're an idiot. You might have still lost the game. I think you would have. I picked the Bucs. So I'll say that full out. I don't think Green Bay would have made that 4th and goal from the 8. However, I would have liked to see them try it. When I think of this, I think of Herm Edwards and I think of Babe Ruth. 2 different sayings. Herm Edwards said when he was the Jets head coach, you play to win the game. And I say that all the time to my friends because that's life. You play to win life. You play to win the game. You don't play for the tie. Matt LaFleur in that moment was minus 53 at the no balls open. He had no stones. He had nothing between his legs in that moment because he was minus 53, no balls open. And the Babe Ruth thing is he had the most strikeouts ever, but he also hit the most home runs at one point in his life. So eventually you go to the plate, you swing, you're going to hit one. Why not take a chance? Take a chance. And the Bucs get the 1st down. They run the clock out. And, Tom Brady, again, he's making more and more history. People can wish him out of the league, that they don't like him anymore. They're tired of him. Well, he's 43. He's going to another Super Bowl. He's going to his 10th Super Bowl. He's going to a Super Bowl that's in Tampa Bay. And for the first time ever, a host team will play in their home stadium in a Super Bowl. It's only fitting that Tom Brady's doing it. He finished the game. He wasn't second half. He was terrible. He finished the game. He had 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Green Bay defense came to play in the second half. Aaron Rodgers had 1 pick, a couple touchdowns in there, but I don't know what the future holds. I mean, this is 2 straight years that Green Bay has lost in the NFC Championship game. Last year, they lost to San Francisco, just getting crushed. This year was close, but what's the difference? You lose both games. You can lose by 100, lose by 1. It's the same result. He said after the game, he didn't have the decision on when to go for it. That was Matt LaFleur's. And he said after he doesn't know his future in Green Bay. I don't think he'll move. I think it's tough to pull off, and I don't think they'll really want to get rid of him after an MVP season, but who knows? But for right now, the Bucs are going to the Super Bowl. And with their defense playing the way it is and Tom Brady being efficient, they're going to be tough to beat. And with a home crowd with 22,000 people scheduled to be in Tampa Bay for 2 weeks yesterday, it should be fun. But yeah, Matt LaFleur, Aaron Rodgers, bad coaching, and for Aaron Rodgers, red zone offense. That's it. I mean, you can look at the whole game and I can pinpoint those 2 things. You can say at the first half, should they have put a guy on Scotty Miller? Absolutely. But in the second half, you had that's over at that point because you've gotten turnovers. Your defense, he was yelling at the defense the whole game, get a stop. Well, they got you 3 turnovers and you could only put up 7 points. I think they should be looking at you this morning and saying, where the hell were you when we need you most? Oh yeah, losing to Tom again. It's harsh, but that's just how I see it. So following that game, we saw Buffalo at Kansas City. Obviously, this is the first game was the battle of the old guard. 43-year-old Tom Brady, soon to be 38-year-old Aaron Rodgers. This game we got Josh Allen, who's 24, Mahomes, who's 25. Really the future of the NFL. Both guys are athletic. Josh Allen's 6'5", but he can run quick. He's a great athlete. And Mahomes obviously last week got injured, but he's back and didn't look injured. Buffalo starts the game. Josh Allen's running the ball well. They lose Devin Singletary early to an injury. He comes back later. But Josh Allen's running the ball. They get a field goal to start the game. It's a good start. Then Kansas City gets the ball. Nothing happens. Buffalo 3-and-out. Allen not having a great start to the game. He's kind of erratic with his throws. He's throwing on the run, missing people. But they catch a break. They punt the ball to Kansas City. Mecole Hardman, who's usually sure-handed. He's going to catch the ball at the 10 after a punt, but he muffs it. And Buffalo jumps on the ball at the Kansas City 2. And a play later, Josh Allen to Dawson Knox, 2-yard touchdown. 9-0 Buffalo after Tyler Bass misses the extra point. But this looked like, it could have been a big play. But Kansas City, they're a team that's won the Super Bowl last year. They know these big moments, and they didn't falter. They took it on the chin. And they responded with big drive. Kelsey had 4 catches on the drive for 48 yards. We saw them go to Hilaire on the drive. They were throwing to Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill and Kelsey were really the 2 big targets today. But it was a 14-play, 80-yard drive, and to start the game, first 17 plays, Kansas City had 15 pass plays, 2 rushing plays. So their point was to throw the ball, short passing game to Kelsey. He didn't have a catch longer than 17 yards in the game, but he was targeted a ton and used effectively. So 9-7. The Chiefs began blitzing Josh Allen. He was getting sacked. He had intentional grounding on the next drive. He was sacked for a 22-yard loss earlier in the game. So they were bringing corners. They were bringing safeties. Tyrann Mathieu corner on the edge. So he was having a tough time. And really the big play we mentioned, Mecole Hardman, he caught the touchdown on the last drive. He gets a big play this drive. They do an end around to Hardman, and they get O linemen right in front of him, and two big O linemen, Allegretti and Fisher. They make a way for him. It's like he's so fast. I mean, between him and Hill, they're such game breakers. He gets a rush for 57 yards right down the field. Switches field position. 4 plays later, Darrell Williams runs in a touchdown for 6 yards. It's 14-9 Kansas City. They scored 2 touchdowns in 4 minutes and 42 seconds. And it just shows you how quick they can strike on offense. And if you're not careful, the game can get out of hand quickly. And really, it did for Buffalo. Again, they go 3 and out. Allen hasn't found his game yet, looks a little jittery. And Chiefs drove again. And this drive was really dominated by Tyreek Hill. He had 52 yards receiving on the drive. After this drive, Kelsey had 92 yards receiving for the game. And it ends with Clyde Edwards-Helaire running in a 1-yard score after just another dominant drive for Kansas City. Buffalo does make it interesting to go on a long drive. T.J. Yeldon is now the back with Singletary out. He makes a big catch on the drive. They get a field goal to make at halftime, so 21-12. We see this whole game, Tyreek Hill is just, I don't know if there's been anybody faster in the history of the game. I mean, I saw that on Twitter, and it's really hard to overlook him. I mean, he is so quick. He's a little guy, but the way he bursts and when he gets the ball, just he's impossible to bring down, and he's so quick and agile and athletic that he's such a weapon in the Kansas City offense that he's a dangerous player. So he's 45 yards on the opening drive, but Jordan Poyer makes a big hit on Edwards-Helaire, and they settle for a field goal. Kansas City, 24-12. Now this was the big moment for me. Buffalo, you're down right now. You're down, but you gotta score points here. You're down 12. You got to score some points. But they go down. They need a touchdown, really. They get to the red zone again. And again, it's like Green Bay. You got to score in your red zone opportunities. And another thing for Buffalo at this point, they're 2 for 9 on third down. You're not going to beat Kansas City being 2 for 9. And they have to settle for a field goal, 24-15. But when you're playing KC, you got to be able to score touchdowns. And they just couldn't do it. And of course, first play of the next drive, Kansas City gets the ball at the 25. Tyreek Hill, 71-yard gain, just flying. He flew down the field 71 yards after a little hitch screen from Mahomes. 4 plays later, Mahomes to Travis Kelce for another touchdown, 31-15. And from there, it blew up. Kelce had another touchdown for the end of the game. Josh Allen did score to make it 38-24. But that was the end of the game. 38-24, Kansas City. They're going back to the Super Bowl for the second straight year. And oddly enough, they will play Tom Brady and the Bucs. They played, like I said, in Week 13. And that was when the Bucs really found their game, where they started playing their best football. With Mahomes at quarterback and Tyreek Hill and everybody playing, Kansas City's only lost 1 game all year. That was to Vegas in Week 4. So, they're riding high, but they got to go into Tampa Bay, play in their home stadium, and it would be a massive victory. I mean, I think a lot of people see Kansas City as another potential dynasty here, where Tom Brady had the dynasty with New England forever. I don't think they can do that, but could Kansas City win 3-4 Super Bowls here? I don't know. I mean, they have the opportunity to win 2 in a row. I mean, they're still going to have Mahomes. They're still going to have Kelce. They're going to have Tyreek Hill. Andy Reid, I don't think is going anywhere anytime soon. So it's a big game. I mean, they can get their second Super Bowl title in as many years, and you really make a statement to the NFL that they are the new crown jewel of the league. where, Tom Brady has been the shiny object for a long time, and he's going to want to stay at the top of the perch, stay at the top of the mountain at his rightful place. So it should be a great game. 2 weeks from now, 13 days away, February 7th, Super Bowl, live from Tampa Bay. But for Tampa Bay, they got to figure out how to cover Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce had 13 catches, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Tyreek Hill, 9 catches, 172 yards. No scores, but you got to figure it out because Mahomes, he was dominant. He was 29 for 38, 325, 3 touchdowns. Buffalo did not get enough pressure on him. He really didn't have any pressure all day, all the time in the world. He's not going to have that against Tampa because with Shaq Barrett, with JPP, with Vita Vea, with Ndamukong Suh, it's going to be tougher for him to do that. And, Eric Fisher, I haven't said it 100% yet, but it's his star left tackle. And we saw what Shaq Barrett did to a backup left tackle against Green Bay. Eric Fisher may have tore his Achilles. That'll be a huge loss. With JPP or Barrett coming from the blind side, Mahomes could have a long day. So hopefully Eric Fisher's okay. I want to see the best players play, of course, but that could be a big edge for the Buccaneers come Super Bowl. So, that was this weekend. Those 2 games, I thought both games were good. The second half, Chiefs-Bills kind of was dried up because you knew who was going to win, but I wouldn't be shocked if this is another great Super Bowl that we see in 2 weeks. But we'll keep previewing it here on To The Point. Next week, we'll definitely have a breakdown of it, who we see winning. I'm going to have Matt Rypeck on. We'll talk about that. But yeah, so one more game of NFL left this year. Really a credit to the NFL. The start of the year, I don't think anybody really had confidence that they were going to get through this. With COVID numbers and all the hysteria with Black Lives Matter, the protests, just everything in the world. I mean, my dad sent me a funny little picture and he said the world's fucked, and it's dead on the money. But just credit to the league. I mean, and there's no asterisks next to this title. I mean, they've gotten through a whole season playing elite football, and there's no asterisks or anything like that towards this one. But credit to the NFL. I'm grateful that I get to talk about it. I'm grateful that I get to watch it every. I mean, it's, to be honest, even next Sunday, there's no football. That's a gut punch. But mid-February, if you're friends with me and we're not in red, maybe come visit because I do get a little sad there in mid-February. It's tough, no football. Football is like what makes me. So not to get too emotional here, but it's sad to see football go. But there's always. We're going to talk about the draft. Off-season's always interesting. And speaking of moves, Saturday night it was reported by Adam Schefter that Detroit Lions and their quarterback Matthew Stafford have both mutually agreed to part ways. Stafford was drafted first overall by the Lions in 2008. He's played there for a long time. He's got over 45,000 passing yards in the league, but he's never won a division title. He's never won a playoff game. And that's not all entirely his fault. I mean, he's working for the Detroit Lions, one of the most dysfunctional organizations in professional sports today. But it's an interesting development because we got a lot of veteran quarterbacks who could be on the move. Potentially Matt Ryan in Atlanta. Stafford will be on the move. Carson Wentz is still kind of up in the air. Deshaun Watson wants out of Houston. Sam Darnold could leave the Jets. There's an opening now that Phillip Rivers is retired, who goes to Indianapolis. So Jimmy Garoppolo in San Francisco, do they bring him back for another season? So there'll be lots of movement on the quarterback front. This is just another name added to the list. Stafford, he's 32. I still think he's got game, but he's been injured a lot lately. But I'm sure he's looking forward to a fresh start where he doesn't have to work for the forwards and he can get out of Detroit where He hasn't, he's had limited success there, but he's been through a ton, there, and I'm sure he'll love it forever. But just a fresh start for him, I think, will be a good thing. And with Dan Campbell taking over the organization, we'll see what happens there long term. Also on the weekend, we saw the big trade in the NHL. The Winnipeg Jets traded Patrik Laine and Jack Roslovic to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Pierre-Luc Dubois. My initial thought, I really thought about, because I don't like to be the guy that this exaggerates or comes off too hot right off the bat. Because I don't think, to be honest, I don't think you can say there's a winner and loser of a trade right when it happens. I think that's really, people say you won the trade, and then you figure, like the Phil Kessel, like, okay, this is just an example. I think the Phil Kessel trade, instantly, you're going to say Toronto Maple Leafs won the trade when they traded for him for Boston. And maybe looking back, they might still have. He was good for them for a while. They ended up giving Boston Tyler Seguin. He didn't have a bunch of success in Boston, but you don't know what the pick's going to be. It could be a bust pick, and then you're like, well, maybe it's a wash. But in this trade, you're trading players. It's a hockey trade, which I like more because you can look at it and see how it can help both teams. So I'll go team by team here. Columbus. They're getting rid of Dubois, their number one center. He's great, but he didn't want to stay there. I mean, Thursday night, if you've seen the shift he had, it was pathetic. He played under 4 minutes, and he was benched entire second, third period in overtime. But they get Patrik Laine. Patrik Laine, when he wants to put in the effort, is one of the best goal scorers in the NHL. His shot is such a weapon. He's a big guy. He can add a physical game. He's only played one game this year. He had an injury, but he looked great. When he's committed to playing hockey, he's one of the best. He's a dominant player. Has he been better than Austin Matthews since being drafted? No. I think weight issue has been a thing for him, where I think the teams complain about him being a little overweight, a little not as committed as they want him to be. But he's still a talent. He's still somebody that they're going to value having in their organization. And Columbus's biggest problem is scoring goals, and he fills that void for them. Cam Atkinson's been a 40-goal scorer, injured a lot of last year. He's off to a slow start this year. They got Nick Foligno, who's not known to be a goal scorer. They lost Josh Anderson, Max Domi, not a prolific goal scorer. That's not what he's known for. Seth Jones, they get a lot of offense from their back end. Gavrikov, Werenski, Seth Jones, but Laine is going to be a threat to score. So a good addition, I'd say, a very good addition for getting Patrik Laine. The one big problem for him is he's on an expiring contract. He's on the last year of his deal. Who knows what he wants, if he wants to actually stay in Columbus. It's a risk, because it could just be you get him for this last 40 games. It's a 2-week quarantine, so you have to go through that. You're going to miss him, and Dubois both missed 7-8 games. So you're getting him for 35 games, give or take. And it could be a rental. It really could be. But and another big issue for Columbus is, how will Tortorella gel with Laine? John Tortorella is a coach that demands a lot of his players. He's hard on his players. I think Dubois is part of the reason Dubois didn't want to stay there. I think that shows less about Pierre-Luc Dubois, though, his character, that he couldn't, play with a tough coach. But we'll see how that gels. I think, Laine could easily be in Tortorella's doghouse early if we don't see a consistent effort, and that could sway his opinion on staying. Obviously, their GM is Jarmo Kekalainen, who is from Finland. So both of them being Finnish could help that case. But interesting with Pierre-Luc Dubois having another year after this one on his contract. Roslovic hasn't played this year because he was holding out. He didn't have a contract, but he wanted to trade out of Winnipeg. Didn't feel he was getting the opportunities that he deserved. It's hard to say what Jack Roslovic is right now. He's in the NHL, he's third liner at best, but really you could say he's a fourth line winger. I think he's got more to his game offensively, but he might get that opportunity in Columbus. Above him is like Eric Robinson, Emil Bemstrom. None of these guys are household names. And again, he's going to have to earn that ice time because Torch doesn't just give it to people willy-nilly. But I think they'll give him an opportunity when he gets there. He signed a 2-year, $3.8 million deal with Columbus. So he's locked in. But we'll see what happens with him, what happens, how he plays. But right now he's a third, fourth line player. So for him to get extra minutes, he's going to have to go out there and earn it. I think he's a strong player on the boards. He's got an okay shot. He can add a physical game, but he still has a lot to prove in this trade. And he could be an X factor if he can turn into a good player. Winnipeg. I love Winnipeg's team. I loved it before the trade. I really like Laine. Right off the bat, losing Laine hurts because he's a natural goal scorer. Mark Scheifele's not a natural goal scorer. Blake Wheeler's not a natural goal scorer. Ehlers I think he's a hybrid. He's pretty close. He got a good shot. So they don't have a lot of natural goal scorers on their team. So that hurts. Kyle Connor, I'd say, is a natural goal scorer. He's a good player, but he's got a great shot. So I'd say he's a natural goal scorer. But adding Dubois, I think they had to do it. Dubois has another year on his deal, so you get him for 2 years, not 1. He's a strong center. He reminds me a lot of Jonathan Toews and honestly Mark Scheifele a little bit in the way he plays. Both of them played 200 feet. Winnipeg, they've always said that their defense has held them back. Well, now you got 2 centers who are going to back check the hell out of teams. Play defensive hockey. Use your forwards as defensive assets. Not enough teams do that. They say, well, their defensemen suck. Well, wingers, come back in the zone and help your defensemen. Maybe you can get the puck out easier. Breakouts, things like that. Dubois is not going to be a problem defensively. Is he an elite 90-point player? No. But he can score 20, 25 goals. He's going to work harder than most teams, and I think great opportunities for his line mates just by winning board battles and being efficient. He's also a guy that I think they'll want to keep Scheifele, Wheeler. I think you put Ehlers down with Dubois the second he's there just to see what they have, see what kind of connection. Kyle Connor with Dubois is interesting. But you got Scheifele, Dubois, and Adam Lowry as your top 3 centers, and Andrew Kopp as your 4th. That's a damn good top 4. Really good working top 4. Lowry's already got 3 goals on the year. He's another guy that's a big player. He can score goals. He can fight if you need him to. He's a Swiss Army knife. And I like Winnipeg a lot. Obviously, they lost last night. That was their 4th game in 5 days, like something crazy like that. If they lose with 1 second left, Edmonton scores. So congratulations to Edmonton. But I like Winnipeg. I picked Winnipeg to win the Canadian division before. I'm not going to back off that. I like their team now. Obviously, Dubois is going to have to quarantine for 14 days. But get him in the lineup, get him acclimated, and hopefully he's found a resurgence to his game now that he's out of Columbus. And Winnipeg can really do some damage here because they're a loaded team with a ton of talent. And I like Winnipeg. I think right now, I think the trade's a wash because both teams got what they needed. Columbus needed goal scoring. Winnipeg, you could say they didn't need another center, but losing Brian Little, Adam Lowry is your 3rd-line center. That's the perfect position for him. Now having Dubois as the 2nd-line center, they basically have 2 number 1 centers. So you can use either one in a defensive position when you're got a 1-goal lead late in the game. It could be Dubois or Scheifele. And yeah, I think they're looking strong, and I like their chances of making a deep run towards the playoffs. Also in the NHL, Boston. You mentioned they've beaten Philly twice now. They beat them in the gimmick on Thursday, and then they just destroyed them Saturday night, beating them 6-1. Bergeron and Marchand really found their games. Nick Ritchie continues to add, but they win 6-1. Carter Hart kind of flipped out after the game, just letting 6 goals. He's letting at least 4 goals in his last 3 starts. But, Boston, I said there'd be a tough team to make the playoffs. I still think it'll be difficult for them, but, this is why they beat arguably the best team in the division twice. We've seen in this division, Pittsburgh's found their game. They beat Washington twice. They've beaten the Rangers twice this weekend. The Pittsburgh's looking strong. The Rangers are off to a slow start. Alexis Lafreniere hasn't really found his game yet. As a rookie, he's kind of invisible on the ice, but he's, the Rangers are an up-and-coming team, but you got Boston's found their game. Pittsburgh's found their game. Obviously, Washington's missing 4 regulars, and they got 3 to 4 points this weekend against Buffalo. So that was really impressive to me. The Islanders have had a mediocre start. The Devils are playing really good hockey to surprise everybody. Ty Smith and Jack Hughes, both really young players, have stepped up and been their core offensive pieces. Obviously, Scott Wedgwood getting a shutout last night against the Islanders. But, Boston's still going to be really tough out for me. They got a goaltending tandem that can rival anybody. Maybe Montreal can beat them, but Halak and Rask are still very strong. The D-core, I still leave something to be desired for me, but they're starting to score. That's the biggest thing for them. They're getting goals. They haven't got David Pastrnak back, and that's when you get him back. Look out, NHL, because you've had some puppies scoring goals so far. You need the Rottweiler to come in and start doing what he does, because that's just David Pastrnak. I mean, the guy's a superstar. I can't wait to see him get back on the ice. He's one of my favorites to watch. Another team, 2 teams I'll talk about here briefly. Montreal and Toronto, both off to great starts in the Canadian division. Toronto has played 7 games. They got 10 points. Montreal has played 6. They got 10 points. Montreal is coming off playing in Vancouver for 3 straight games last week, getting 5 out of 6 points. And you could say Vancouver's not really good, but you're still in Vancouver, and you're on the road for that long. You're sitting in your hotel doing nothing. 5 out of 6 points is a very good road trip. And you see Yoel Armia got crushed by Tyler Myers. He goes out with a concussion. They plug and play with Corey Perry. He plays his first game as a Hab. He scores a goal Saturday night. I mean, they're such a deep team. And in years past, they haven't had that elite player, which they still don't. But their top to bottom of their lineup is just so strong. Every line, they're a really well-balanced team. And the players that they have in their taxi squad, and Michael Frolik and Corey Perry, have both played. Corey Perry's played over 1,000 NHL games. Michael Frolik's played close to 700. They got veterans that can step in and play when you need them to, where other teams don't have that luxury. Toronto has really gotten, well, lucky's not the right word. They've gotten production out of the top of their lineup. They're playing Mitch Marner 26 minutes a game right now. That can't happen all year, because he's going to have nothing left. He can't play 26 minutes a game. I mean, yes, you got Adam Brooks and Engvall, but that's Kyle Dubas' fault. That's who you have available. Okay, Sheldon Keefe doesn't trust any of those guys. Well, that's who you had before the year. Montreal addressed it. Corey Perry was available. Frolik was available. Didn't happen. But Toronto, big win yesterday in Calgary. I think besides the Montreal win, where I think Montreal threw the game away, I didn't give them a ton of credit for that win. I think yesterday was the most important win. Calgary hadn't played in a while. They get a win in Calgary. They play them again tomorrow. But a big win for Toronto. Jack Campbell is 2-0 in the season in his starts. Frederik Andersen has found his game here too. Defensively, I don't think Riley's had a great start to the year, or Brody for that matter. But my big worry for Toronto is last night they're saying the best D on Toronto is Justin Hall. Yikes. If Justin Hall is your best defenseman, you're in fucking trouble long term. And like I said, this Canadian division is the most overhyped thing because yes, people love it around here, but there's no great team. Montreal's a very good team. Toronto's a very good team. I think Winnipeg's a very good team, and I think Calgary is. I think Edmonton, Vancouver, and Ottawa are below average. And that just kind of has to be said. I mean, it's just the way it is. But it'll be compelling all year for sure. How the division goes and see who comes out on top. But that's just how I see it right now. And also on the weekend, Dallas Stars finally made their debut of the season. You know, they've been COVID issues and all this, but good on them. They started their year. And they start their season 2-0, beating Nashville twice over the weekend. Starts off with a 7-0 win Friday night with Hudobin getting the shutout. And then they beat Nashville last night 3-2 again. So Dallas coming off making the Stanley Cup final last year. I mean, who knows? It's 2 games, but, you know, they're tied for the final playoff spot right now after 2 games with 4 points. I mean, that's how weak that Central Division is. And it's been a lot of weird games around the NHL where, like, Colorado's off to a really tough start. They lose to Anaheim last night. They lost to LA already this year. LA beat St. Louis last night 6-2, just a drubbing. Like I said, the Devils beat the Islanders last night. And just to criticize the NHL because I can. Saturday you had 1 afternoon game. I like afternoon. Some people don't. I like them because I have no life. So I like to turn something on, which is fine. It's Tampa Bay Columbus was a good game. I watched every whistle of it. But yesterday you have one game at 1:30, and then you have Sunday with the NFL. So you start a game, Washington Buffalo at 4:00. That's when the Tampa Bay Green Bay game started. So probably 4 people in the world watch that game. And then you got the Toronto Calgary game at 5 and Arizona Vegas. So Arizona Vegas, probably 2 people watch that one. And yeah, Toronto probably maybe got some decent viewers in the Toronto region. But why not just schedule the Toronto game for 11:00 or something? I get it, Eastern or Atlantic, because nobody's watching that game. They're watching the NFL. I turned it on in the halftime. I flipped to hockey games, but who gives a shit about Toronto Calgary? Schedule it at 11:00 because then, yeah, the Toronto fans who can't stay up past 9:30 will bitch, but at least you could say, well, you have the option. You can stay up because they play at 10 and 11 later this week. But you schedule it with the NFL, you're going to get buried. What are you thinking? It's just ridiculous. I mean, the marketing of the NHL is idiotic here. I mean, why go up against the NFL? You're going to lose every time. Other leagues have to learn this. They've learned it from the Super Bowl day. Like, they figured that one out. But the championship game, there's 2 games left in the NFL season. You can see Toronto play ex-Canadian team another 45. Who cares? Just a marketing idea. NHL, maybe don't schedule these games right in the middle of the NFL, but just a thought. Because tonight there's only 1 NHL game on the schedule. Ottawa, Vancouver, 11:00. You couldn't have moved one of those games till tomorrow or till today, sorry. And there's only 2 games Wednesday, 1 Friday. So it's not like every team's playing back-to-backs here. Just a thought. Just a thought. I don't know. I could be wrong. Not wrong that often, but I could be wrong. Saturday night, watched UFC 257. Pretty great card. Some good fights. Obviously, the co-main event where we saw Chandler dispatch Dan Hooker was really impressive with the first round knockout. And then the headliner was Conor McGregor and Dustin Poirier, round 2. And, you know, the buildup was, well, McGregor's going to win the fight, and then he'll go on to fight for the belt. And, of course, that's what Dana White wanted, I'm sure, but that's not what happened. McGregor came out, looked really, really thin to me. almost too thin. Poirier looked at least 10 pounds heavier. I don't know if McGregor cut weight and then decided not to eat anything before the fight, but he looked really thin coming out. And first round, he held his own, but the first round, Poirier really did his damage. He did the leg kicks to McGregor. It really started to bother him. McGregor couldn't put a lot of weight on that leg come the second round. He had to try to block it a few times, but as the round went on, his leg really started to give out, and then Poirier was able to get some good shots on him. And with about 2 minutes left in the second round, Poirier got McGregor to the ground with a good right hook. He started laying on a few more, and that was all she wrote. Poirier wins by TKO. He gets a big victory. He was second in the rankings, so this should propel him to a title opportunity. But for Conor McGregor, it was his first fight in over a year, and I don't know what the future holds for him. He's not going to be able to fight for a belt because he just got his ass kicked. If you look at his last 3-4 years, it hasn't been great for him. He got his ass beat by Khabib. He lost to Mayweather boxing. He beat Cowboy Cerrone, which was like a gift fight given to him. Just saying, okay, go win one because we need you to win something before we offer you anything. And then he loses to Poirier. And with Conor McGregor, you never know what he's going to do because the guy's a liar and he's a hype man. But if you're a hype man, you're a promoter, you're also a big liar. They go hand in hand. I think he could be done in the UFC. I mentioned Saturday night to friends. Maybe he goes and boxes Manny Pacquiao. I don't know about anybody out there, but I'm not buying that because it's going to be boring as hell. And what boxing has done with all these stupid jerk-off social media influencer boxing events, fighting Floyd Mayweather like Logan Paul and Jake Paul, it's ruining a sport. Boxing used to be the crown jewel. In the United States, boxing was a big deal with Muhammad Ali and Holyfield and Roy Jones Jr., just these guys that were great in the sport. And now you have these jerk-off Paul brothers. And, this is how I know these guys suck. My friend Sawyer hates them. He's social media 101. And he hates these guys. So I know they suck. And I don't know what the future holds for McGregor, but Poirier, after the match, saying he doesn't want a title fight. Like, what? He said he wants to either fight McGregor again for a third time, which who cares? I don't need to see that. Or he wants to fight Nate Diaz, who hasn't fought in a couple of years. Like, maybe try to make some money, win a belt. I mean, that's what you fight for, not to fight McGregor again. Like, snooze. But yeah, it was a good pay-per-view. The UFC is something that I've really gotten into in the last probably year and a half. But the next couple months, we got some great cards with the likes of Stipe Miocic fighting Francis Ngannou in late March. Jan Blachowicz fighting Israel Adesanya for the belt. Amanda Nunes putting her belt on the line soon enough. The UFC's got a lot coming here, and it should be fun. It should be fun in the coming months. I think it could be the biggest year for the company yet. And obviously McGregor losing for them is not a great start to the year because I'm sure they wanted to book him in a title fight in probably June or July in Vegas, hopefully with some fans. But McGregor's going to have to regroup here and figure out what he wants to do with his career long term because he's like I said, he's had a tough 3-4 years. He's not been a dominant fighter in a long time. And if I was him, I'd really consider maybe moving away. I get it if he wants to go box and make money. I'm not going to buy it because I'm not going to be that schmuck that buys that shitty event. But I know people that just love McGregor enough that they'll buy it. But, do what you got to do. It's how you make your money is up to you. But I'm not going to be the one hoodwinked into buying a really shitty event on pay-per-view for $70. I didn't mention this a ton last week, but I thought I'd bring it up today. Major League Baseball has the worst offseason in any professional sport. They don't have like a free agent frenzy day like the NHL, NBA, NFL. There's no day where they're like, okay, well, this is the big day where everybody's going to sign. It's slow build where they have these winter meetings and then the GMs don't want to pay the players a bunch. And especially right now with the revenues and everything going on with COVID, it's like, well, let's wait it off, put it off. And there's reports every week about, well, this team's interested. They're going all in. And then it's bullshit. But last week, finally, something happened. The Toronto Blue Jays made a splash. They signed center fielder George Springer to a big 6-year, $150 million deal. He's won a World Series in 2017 with the Astros. So he was on the cheating scandal team, and whether he was a part of it or not, he'll always be associated with it. But, Springer he's a stud in center field. It's the biggest contract they've ever given out as a franchise. And, it's something, he checks a lot of boxes. He's a 300 hitter. He's going to hit for average. He can hit home runs. He's going to be a leadoff hitter for the team. That's something they've missed for a long time. I think the Blue Jays have just put a guy in there just for fun, and they haven't had a guy. I think they should hit him leadoff. He's going to play center field every day. He still plays it at an above average level, being 32 years old. But, this was a move they had to make. They're a team that's very close. They got Vladimir Guerrero Jr., they got Bo Bichette, they got Kevin Biggio. Lourdes Gurriel is taking big steps. They got Hyun-Jin Ryu, who they signed last year. Nate Pearson looks like a developing arm. But with this signing, really what it points to me is that they need to make some more moves. And there's a couple options. Trevor Bauer, he won the Cy Young in the National League last year as the best pitcher. He's still available. Some people don't like him because he's got a weird personality. He can be really vocal on social media and he's a different cat. But there's no denying how talented he is as a pitcher and what he brings to teams. I mean, he's an ace. He's an ace pitcher. He would automatically become Toronto's best pitcher and I think change their outlook of their pitching staff. If they don't want to go the Trevor Bauer route, they could trade. Sonny Gray is a guy I think they should target in Cincinnati. Since moving to Cincinnati from the Yankees, he's been a dominant pitcher. I don't think he's an ace, but with him and Hyun-Jin Ryu, you probably get two number 2 starters, and that's better than most teams. You get those two, Nate Pearson, probably still have to add an arm to really be an elite team, but I think he's a good add. And in the trade, you could also acquire Eugenio Suarez. He's a third baseman that is good defensively. He can also hit home runs. And, third base is a position they really need to cover up. I don't think Vladimir Guerrero Jr., even with the weight loss, is going to play third base. I think he's a first baseman at best. I mean, he still has to learn how to play that position. So the possible options there, I could see them also acquiring JT Realmuto from he's a free agent. Their catching position is not exactly elite either with Danny Jansen, Reese McGuire. Both guys really can't hit they can't hit anything. They couldn't hit water if they're falling out of a boat last year. So helping them would also help their pitching staff. And maybe at third base, if they don't want to make that trade, they sign Justin Turner, who was obviously with the Dodgers winning the World Series last year. He's still a very good player and I think could help the team. But for the first time since probably 2016 to 2017, the Blue Jays did make the championship game, but I never thought they had a chance of winning that series. They're starting to look like a team that could compete. I still think they have to make some adjustments. Their starting rotation's not good enough, and that's their biggest hole right now. Relying on the likes of Tanner Roark to win you games is a pretty scary thought. So we'll see what the Blue Jays have in store, but it's interesting for them. They made a first big splash. We've seen the Yankees keep DJ LeMahieu. We've seen some other teams make some smaller moves. The San Diego Padres trading with Tampa Bay for Blake Snell, and then obviously them acquiring Yu Darvish from the Chicago Cubs. But there's still some good free agents out there. James Paxton, a Canadian, has been linked to the Blue Jays. So we'll see what happens. There's still some time here. Pitchers and catchers only report in mid-February. So there's still some time, but it's time. If you're going to sign George Springer into the Blue Jays, go all in, because why not? You've already put your chips in. You might as well just say, okay, we're going to double down. We're going to win the World Series this year, next. Like we're here to win. But yeah, as football winds down, the baseball talk on the podcast will increase, as will the NBA, as will the NHL, UFC, you name it, tennis, Australian Open. So there'll be still lots of content. But like I said, the NFL is coming to an end. One game left in 13 days, February 7th, with Chiefs, Bucks in Tampa Bay. I think The Weeknd is doing the halftime show. If you're a fan of him, then that's great. I got the clicker, but yeah, it should be great. CBS got the call with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo. So looking forward to that, but still lots coming this week. I'll be joined tomorrow night, like we usually do on Tuesdays. Me and Seamus will talk about episodes 5 and 6 of Your Honor. Wednesday night, I'll be doing a podcast talking about the world of sports, what's happened so far in the week, just different storylines to watch out for. Friday, I'll likely have a guest talk some hockey like we have the past couple weeks. And we're approaching episode 50, and I'd like to do something fun for that. I'd like to do a roundtable just with a few people about a couple different topics. We're going to play some games. We're going to talk about our favorite players. What can we expect to see maybe later in the year? Just a general big theme about hockey and sports right now, and how it's evolved over the last decade even. So lots of things coming here into the point. Big weekend. I hope everybody can have a great week. One hockey game tonight, so a bunch of NBA, so that'll probably be my focus tonight. But everybody take care, stay healthy, and we'll talk soon.